Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here with Rake and Profit, and we're joined with my good friend Kevin, who's doing $15,000 a month on Amazon. And Kevin loves to sell toys and board games. And in this video, we're actually going to be sharing how to make money selling board games. And specifically, Kevin's going to give you 5 tips to be able to flip board games. So we're going to talk about rank and condition, getting ungated, profit, ROI, dealing with competition. So maybe you're only selling books right now, or maybe you're selling books and DVDs and you want to expand your category to be able to sell more products. This is going to be the perfect video for you. And also, if you enjoy this video and you want more content like this, be sure to smash the like button and also check out Kevin's YouTube channel, which is called Hope Reselling. We'll put links down below. All right, guys, so let's get into the video. What's going on, Kevin? How you doing, man? Thanks for coming on the channel.
Yeah, doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I'm going to pass it off to you and let's get into these 5 tips. I know you love to sell board games. You're doing about 15,000 a month. And the average board game and toy and product you're selling on Amazon, I believe, is close to $70, I think you said previously in another video we recorded.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into it. What do we got?
Perfect. So here's some tips that I would recommend for anybody wanting to break into board games. So tip number 1 is on your sales rank. If you watch a lot of YouTube videos, you're going to see that people will say you need to be under whatever number they come up with for the sales rank. Personally, I have found sales rank doesn't matter a whole lot. I've flipped items that have really great sales rank, and I've had other ones that are, 5, 6, 700,000. What I care more about is supply and demand. So supply, the number of other people selling it and the quantity that they're selling compared to the demand, how many buyers are buying it on a monthly basis. So I have found that those numbers are way more important than sales rank, and that's what I pay attention to.
All right, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. What do we have for tip number 2?
Tip number 2 is all about condition. Now, there are opportunities to buy items that are used and resell those. I sell everything new, and part of the reason is, number 1, it's just really a whole lot easier, to be brutally honest. That way you're not having to inspect and count pieces and make sure everything's there. But the greater opportunity with new is usually they have a much higher sales price for something that is new condition. And so for the same amount of time, or quite honestly less, since you're not counting pieces, for less time spent, you're actually making more money. And there are just as many items to purchase on eBay that are new condition, still in the shrink wrap. The box is great, that will still be able to pass as brand new condition when you're selling on Amazon.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed, and I love board games, and I always recommend to folks, like, start getting ungated in some of the brands related to board games, because when you walk into a thrift store, if you're thrifting, it's so easy to go to the board game section. And I do this every single time. I'll just scan it really, really quick. And I'm looking for that cellophane. I'm looking for the new sealed board game. So, that's a great tip. When you walk into a thrift store, for me, matter of fact, one of the first places I always go is to board games, because again, like you said, if a board game is new, especially if it's like 3 years old, 5 years old. I mean, I found board games from the 90s before new sealed. Some of these things could sell for hundreds of dollars. Now, I'm curious if maybe a board game has a little dent, but it's new sealed, or the plastic's ripped a little bit. Like, how far will you push it? Does it have to be 100% pristine, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, to a large extent, condition does matter. So yes, obviously in a perfect world, you want pristine cellophane, pristine, box condition. Obviously that's the ideal. But I have found personally that how far I'll push it also has a lot to do with the age of the item. So if it's a board game from the 90s, obviously there's going to, in 99% of cases, there's going to be some shelf wear, there's going to be some dings. And I have found that people are totally okay with that. One of the great things about board games is in this niche, people are not expecting, I would expect that most people are not collectors, meaning they're not going to buy it and just stick it on a shelf. They're buying it with the intent of playing the game. So if the cellophane is a little bit open, they're not going to care a whole lot about that. They're going to open it and play the item anyway. So that's been my experience. And that's why, yes, obviously condition does matter, but there comes a point where people are going to be okay with it.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm the same exact way. I really don't deal with used just because I don't want to count all the pieces. Although I have flipped used board games. And quick little tip, if you sell a board game as used on Amazon, they force you to list it under collectible. So make sure that you list it under collectible, because if you do list it as used in the past, I've actually had that inventory go stranded. So great tips in terms of ranking conditions so far. Let's get into tip number 3 when it comes to selling board games and flipping them for a profit on Amazon.
Perfect. And that is getting ungated. So one of the great things about this niche is that when you're getting into board games, a lot of them are the same manufacturers. So one of the board games I sell a ton of is Monopoly. In fact, it's probably half of all the board games that I sell. And so being able to get ungated in one brand or one segment of this, a lot of times you can just get auto approved for other segments as well. So it's one of those things where you invest a little bit of money buying 10 of an item, submitting the invoice and getting ungated. But once that's done, to a large extent, it really opens up a lot of the category.
Now, I'm curious, Kevin, how do you choose what board games to get ungated for? Because I notice a big mistake a lot of sellers make, and I actually made this mistake as well when I first started. It was like I just started spending money left and right, just getting ungated for this and that and this and that. And looking back, half these brands and some of these things I got ungated for, like I barely even sell them. I don't even know why I got ungated for them. So what's your mindset around what to spend your money on to, again, buy 10 of a product from a supplier to get ungated and kind of go from there? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, start with the items the opportunities that you see come up over and over and over again. So for me, it was Monopoly. I don't sell a lot of the basic classic Monopoly games where a lot of the opportunities lie in that niche are in the themed games. So like the Simpsons Monopoly, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Monopoly. I mean, all of these branded ones, and there's hundreds of them, and that's where a lot of the opportunities lie. Is most of these are board games that are no longer published. They're collectible. They're vintage. They've been out for a long time, and there's still lots of those opportunities to pick them up brand new, still in the cellophane. And so for me, the answer is it really is just based on the opportunities that I kept seeing. So I kept seeing Monopoly over and over and over again, and that's a huge part of the games that I sell.
I love it. Yep. If you keep seeing an opportunity that you can't sell, eventually you're going to want to get ungated for it. So great advice, Kevin. Let's move on to tip number 4. We're going to be talking about profit and ROI. So let's talk a little bit about that. What's your minimum profit? What's the ROI that you're looking for when you're selling a board game? Maybe you could talk on one hand, going to a thrift store, and then maybe on the other hand, eBay to Amazon, because I know that's how you source most of your products with the E2A method. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so with eBay to Amazon, that is how I'm pretty much sourcing everything. I really don't spend time in thrift stores just because there's not a lot of them nearby where I live. And so since I'm sourcing everything on Amazon, my minimum is at least $15 profit or 60% ROI. That's what I'm looking for. That's kind of my threshold to get involved in a transaction. The nice thing is if you're going thrifting and you're finding that brand new cellophane wrapped item in the thrift store like you're talking about, usually their margins, what they're charging for the item is so low, you don't need to worry a whole lot about margins for the most part, as long as the item is selling on Amazon, do your research. But in most cases, your ratios are going to be more applicable with eBay to Amazon just because it's easy to overspend for an item if you're not doing your research.
So I'm similar to you. I'm 99.9% eBay to Amazon. And from time to time, I go into thrift stores, man. And I miss going to thrift stores. Thrift stores are so much fun. Like I said, for me, there's like nothing more exciting than going to a thrift store and just going beelining it right to the board games. I love it. Matter of fact, I don't know if you saw my post the other day. And I always do this from time to time. I'll go into a thrift store and I'll find items and then I'll go surprise my mom because my mom's been selling for 10 years. And I don't know, man, it must be in the rake and blood. There is nothing that makes my mom smile more than giving her a bunch of sealed board games because she knows how fast they sell. So, yeah, anyways, you got me all excited here. But let's get into tip number 5. We've talked about rank, okay, and we talked about the importance of not paying so much attention to rank, but looking at the monthly sales. We talked about the condition. You and I are both big fans of new, but there are opportunities to sell used collectible if you've got the patience. We talked about the importance of seizing those opportunities of products that you want to sell that are really profitable, maybe like Monopoly, but you can't because you're gated, and taking the time to get ungated. I would say at least one brand or category a month. I would start with the categories, but then brand maybe one to two per month. We talked about minimum profit, ROI. like what are the minimums that we go after for ROI and profit? Now let's talk about number 5, which is competition. And I would say, I would argue that one of the reasons people don't make money selling on Amazon is because they don't pay enough attention to the current market, to the competition, to the Keepa charts, looking at what happened in the past, kind of trying to predict what's going to happen in the future. So I know this is kind of a big topic here, but what's the first thing that comes to mind when you're analyzing a board game and you think competition?
Perfect. So one of the things that I would tell people about competition right off the bat is if you think about most people who sell on Amazon, how they begin and what that journey looks like. My experience is the vast majority of people start with books because they're easy, they're cheap, there's lots of them. And a lot of times you can just get auto approved to sell books right off the bat. So people get started with books, and I would say books, because of that, it's one of the most heavily competitive niches on selling on Amazon. That's just my opinion. So since most people start there and that's where they're initially approved to sell, where these other categories are concerned, like board games, like we're talking about, most people never spend the time or effort or money to get in, to get ungated in this category. And so if you're selling books and you're experiencing lots of competition of sellers selling it, you're going to experience something completely different when you start selling board games, because most people don't go to the trouble of getting ungated. So by doing that, your competition immediately shrinks down to next to none. And then once that's done, now it's really just a matter of, as you're going through, looking at your Keepa charts, is it an item that's selling frequently? What is the competition on the listing? Are there other sellers? Having competition, other sellers on the listing, in my opinion, that's a good thing. That's a good sign, because it means that you're probably okay selling that. Always do your research. But yeah, that's what I would tell you about competition. Number one, by getting ungated in a new category like board games, your competition is going to shrink down massively because most people don't sell those items. And then number two, a little bit of competition on the listing is a good thing as long as the demand is there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I would even go as far to say it's good to have competition, because if there's like no sellers on the listing, or if there's only one, and this is a pro tip, if there's only one seller on the listing, you better darn sure go look to see who's selling it. Because if it's the brand selling it, and this applies for everything, even DVDs, right?
Yep.
For any product that you sell on Amazon, if you don't have invoices, right? And we don't, if we're thrifting, doing E to A, all that stuff, A to A, garage sales, library sales, you want to make sure you keep your account safe. So Kevin, this was a phenomenal video, man. Thank you so much. And I wanted to put something out there. Kevin's going to be surprised by this when I say this. He's going to start laughing, but I want to have a little bit of fun. What I want you guys to do is, when this video comes out, the latest video, so right when this video comes out, I'm gonna do this for 24 hours. Go to Kevin's YouTube channel, okay, and look for his latest published video, okay? And I want you to comment, Rakin sent me there. And I'm gonna have Kevin choose a winner randomly, and I'm gonna send them over $50, okay? So Kevin, can you share with people what your YouTube channel is? This was not pre-planned. He's blushing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the YouTube channel is called Hope Reselling with Kevin Smolin.
Perfect. So if you start seeing a bunch of comments saying Rakin sent me, put them all into like a random generator or something and pick one. Let me know, and I'll send them over $50 PayPal. Okay. So yeah, just
Awesome.
wanted to support you, man. I really appreciate what you're doing. And yeah, if you want more help, follow Kevin's YouTube channel. Also, Kevin is a coach. We have 10 coaches in our private Amazon community called Reselling Freedom over at resellingfreedom.com. It's about $1 a day, and we do typically 4 to 6 live coaching calls per week. We have a course in there. We have workshops. I mean, we talk about Walmart selling, eBay to Amazon, thrifting. I mean, it's pretty cool to kind of see how Reselling Freedom has been developing over the last 2 years. We have over 300 plus members. So if you want community, you could ask questions. We have a Facebook group. Definitely check it out. But yeah, thanks so much, Kevin. Appreciate you. Much love. And thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below. But we'll see you in the next video. Bye.